Hello, it's Tenny-Brittian. I am here with a VidResponse for the ministry training program at Phillips Theological Seminary in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This VidResponse is for questions that you have posed or comments that you've made in week 8. So you're going to see me kind of looking over here. It's because I'm checking in on notes that I've written to remind me or to set up remind me or to place your questions up there. I want to talk first or speak to thoughts and questions about having a membership path, a path to membership in your church. Yes, this is something that is not taking place in a lot of Christian churches, Disciples of Christ, or for that matter, in a lot of even mainline congregations. We really still practice y'all come. We're so desperate. We're so excited for people to come that we just open our doors and we want everyone to be with us, which is a massive problem because we get all of these different people in there and they have their wants, their desires, and they have no sense of where the congregation's going. Now, of course, one of the reasons for that is because congregations don't know where they're going, or congregations are trying to make everybody happy or to be everything to everybody, which is absolutely impossible to be or to do. If you look at the churches that are growing, be they evangelical or mainline or whatever out there, they have clarity about who they are and what they do as a whole. They have different ministries, they have different missions. Those are going to ebb and flow and come and go, but they come and they go, and the decisions are made about them. They have their own lifetime, if you will, because all of that is around vision. You have your mission. This is what we're about. This is what we're accomplishing. But that vision is, these are the tools that we're using. These are the resources we're using. This is how we're using these resources in this place and this time to accomplish this mission, to accomplish what it is God has envisioned for us, or has given us the mission to do, but Jesus is needing us to do. The vision is, what is it that Jesus is needing us to do in this place and this time now? This place, this time now. All right. So when it comes to what is that about disciples, I just love, Dan, you mentioned the 5-finger exercises of Walter Scott. Yes, yes, and yes. Those are a key way of talking about who God is and who we are in God and what we do with that. And that's a key piece. And I didn't say this when I talked about having a membership outline. Somewhere in there, we need to be able to say, this is all about having a relationship with Jesus. I've known of 2 disciples churches. They were church plants by young people. They were young at that time, at least, that did not require baptism for church membership. When I said, how can you not be baptized and be a member? The response was, well, we don't want to scare people off, but we're church. We have to be clear about this. If you're going to be a Christian, you have to make a profession of faith, or some churches, or maybe you call it a confession of faith. I like profession. It's not like I'm going to confess that I'm a Christian, but I'm going to profess that I am a Christian, that I believe in the living, that Jesus is the Son of the living God, of the alive and well God, and that I want to follow him with the whole of my heart and my soul, my strength, with my power, what power I have. I want to follow him wherever he goes. At least some days I think that's the case. I want to follow him with all that I am and do what it is that he wants in my life. I want to open myself up for that relationship. I'm professing that publicly. I need your help, your support as a congregation, as you, my brothers and sisters, to help me to do that. So Walter Scott's 5-finger exercise, a great way to do that, particularly within our tradition. Now, that question is, why do you want to be a member? I really struggle with that, and I've struggled with that for many, many, many years. What is that? What membership has its benefits, right? Don't I hear Jennifer Gardner say that on TV quite a bit? Well, membership has its benefits. Well, what benefits? What does membership uh, get you? I really do not know. Um, I remember one of the new members at New Christians at Bellevue Christian Church when I was pastoring there. We'd gone through everything. Why to be a member? This is the work we're doing. And then he got to exercise his privilege of a vote at a congregational meeting that was really quite contentious based on our history of conflict. And I stood in the back by the doors, and he stood there next to me, and he said, "Wow, this sounds like politics. This is horrible. Who should teach this class, these introductions? Elders. That's historical. I think there's everything to be said about that. It steps up the importance of leadership in your congregation. It also reminds elders of their important and historic role in all of this. It's getting back to those basics. It's reclaiming who we are, that we have forgotten, that we have stepped away from. But let me be real clear. Whoever teaches this needs to have a gift of teaching. So many congregations have said, well, elders take care of people. No. That's what deacons do. Let's be biblical about that. Let's go back into the book of Acts. What do elders do? What do the teachers? They teach and they pray. They teach and they pray. They're the spiritual leaders. They're not the caretakers. That's why they established the diaconate there in chapter 7 or 6. I believe it's chapter 6 of that book of Acts. So what do elders do? They're either going to teach or be spiritual leaders. If there's a care function in that, a shepherding function. Again, I'm not really keen on that, but so often our elders are shepherds. They're the caretakers, and we've forgotten about the teachers. And to expect a teacher or a natural prayer, a spiritual leader to be taking care of people is not always the best fit. In fact, I find that usually it is not the best fit. So go back to who teaches these membership classes. If it's an elder, someone who is very articulate, who teaches well. They need to have good training, be well versed in the history. You could have a team do team teaching, so somebody who's very biblically trained, well trained within the Christian Church Disciples of Christ tradition, those who can speak to what it means to have a relationship with God, those who can speak well to what your congregation is doing missionally, visionally, and how that fits the person. And then somebody who closes the deal, you might say, gosh, I hate that I said that, but somebody who can bring it home, right? Who's saying, yeah, this is why you want to be part of us. That's who you want to be speaking to, all of that. But be really clear. And that might be something to sit down with your elders, with your executive committee, your leadership, your officers. Why do people want to join here? Why would they want to do that? Don't be asking people to join until you can do that. Let's see, there was something else I just thought of that I wanted to say with that about joining. Oh yeah, it comes back to that question. What would you miss? What would people miss if our building was no longer here in the middle of the block, or if our building was here on this corner? What would people miss, other than maybe they'd miss our sign, or maybe they'd miss our building? But what is it about us? What is it that we're bringing to the community? What do we bring to this neighborhood? What difference are we making that people would miss that if it were to go away tomorrow? Okay, that's why. Why do you want to be a part of this? Why should you be a part of this? Because membership says yes. It's a way of making a commitment. Now, people aren't into commitments, and I've had a lot of people say, I want to be part of this. I want to come. I want to be here. I want to, I want to work with this mission or this ministry. Do I have to be a member? No. If you want to lead the ministry, then yes. Right? If you want to lead the ministry, be in leadership of the ministry, yes. All right. That's who teaches it. Remembering, picking up on some thoughts and questions, if you will, about leaving. Yes, we all leave. We all leave at one time or another. How do you know if it's time for you to leave? Ask this question. If I were to leave now, is this work, is this effort, is this mission or vision, is this going to continue, or this mission or ministry, will this continue on? A reminder too, when I talk about mission, mission and ministry is what we do within the congregation. Mission is what we do outside the congregation. Mission, when you cover with ministry, is not just the same as the big M, mission, which goes with vision. All right, you have MVV, mission, values, vision, and then you have mission and ministry. That's how you're carrying out that vision, is through your mission and your ministries. Your mission, what you're doing outside the church doors. Your mission, what you're doing. Let me try it again. Your mission, what you do outside the church doors, and your ministry is what you do is what you're doing within your church doors. Okay, two different pieces. Most churches are only doing ministry and calling that mission, or mission is sending your money. That is not mission. That is sending money. All right. If I were to leave now, is this work that we've begun, is this new ministry, this new mission, will that continue beyond me, or is it just about me? In which case you shouldn't be doing it. Where are the leaders in place? What is that looking like? Some of us are designers. We design ministries. We come up with ideas. I am a designer. I have all kinds of thoughts and thoughts, programs, and that's my creativity. My creativity is not with my hands, actually. I'm not an artist or whatnot. I design. Developers take those designs, those ideas, and they develop them. They make them happen. So I'm a designer. I've got a little bit of developer in me, or a bit of developer in me, because I can take and begin then to develop programs, but it's more design, really, because I need somebody who's going to take and really run with it, right? They can see putting this in place and putting the logisticians who'll help with the logistics, making sure that's all there. Those pieces are in place. And then there are the directors, those who, once the design has been developed, they're going to direct it. My work is usually done when the design and has been brought into developer. That's when a developer really needs to come in. Directors or designers, once it's in place, developers, once it's in place, and it's time for somebody really to run with it, then it's time for you to step out, right? One of the ways that we've approached this is the analogy or the metaphor of building a train. A train, like a Christmas train. We have a Christmas train. There's the designer. Whoa, it would be so cool if we had a train track and it had, let's do a Christmas theme. Let's get some Christmas houses and whatnot. The developer would say, okay, so we're going to need to go and get the train track, and wow, that'd be really cool if it had an H track on it, maybe. And I might say, yeah, what if you did like over there? Maybe it would be cool to do the village. And then the developer would say, oh yeah, if we had the village and had a skating rink and blah, 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 blah. And all those little pieces that I'm going to say, awesome, when I see them, but nah, I'm not thinking about the little pieces on there. And then you've got the director. That's the one who likes to hit the buttons, right? That likes to make it go, right? Who may even say, wait a minute, they're going to crash. And so, maybe if we did that, but the developer's still around, it's like, yeah, right. But we might need to do it this way, or no, I'm not so sure that's possible, but they're colluding over there with their developer, the designer colluding, and then really the developer and the director are making it happen. Okay. Well, if you're a director minister, which maybe the majority of us are, if you're a director, you may think your work is never done. But if while you're doing the work, you're realizing, wow, this is okay, but we're kind of stagnant and it's time to go to the next, to go to another level, another iteration, then it's time for you to start thinking, how am I going to step out to get the right people in place, or to bring in a consultant? Here I am again. Bring in a consultant that can talk to you, that can work with you, that can help you see, is it time for that new iteration? One of the ministers that I have been coaching, still work with now after many, many years, we just recently had a conversation. He's old enough to retire. In fact, 3 years old enough to retire, but he sees that there's a need for those bylaws to be revised. It is time. Remember, form follows function. Form are bylaws. You don't change the bylaws to put all this other stuff in place. You start doing the other stuff. You start doing it, and then the bylaws no longer make sense. And that's when it's time to do some reworking on them, revising of them, totally re-adapt them, totally throw them away and redo them. And he knows that that's the time. It's time for that. And he said, what I see my work to be done is, so that I can be done, is to help get that renewal of those bylaws, the redo of the bylaws in place and done. Okay, so that's moving in. Designer, developer, director, done. As Rhonda, again, I want to bring back those 5 Ds. We lead by design. It's when we came, we did a job, we leave. We leave by decision. We decide for whatever reason it is time for us to go. And that could be our health is becoming compromised. Our family is becoming compromised. People are picking on our family. We see that we've hit brick walls. We've been asked to lead by a number of people. The leadership is not behind us. We have supporters, but it is becoming contentious. Those are some of those reasons to decide to leave. If we don't, it may be that we lead by determination. Someone else has decided it's time for us to leave. And if that is the whole of your leadership group, time to go. Continual question I have when I'm working with ministers in one of those, or in a contentious or a contentiously growing situation, is who are your fans, who are your supporters on the board in leadership, who is supporting you in your work. And I'm amazed at how many times I've heard, well, maybe so and so, maybe I'm not, no, just maybe so and so. What on earth are you doing there? Time to go. Decide to leave before they determine it's time for you to get out. If you don't get out, you will find yourself with a disability, or even in a serious disease, or being disabled in such a way that you are going to die. And if that may not seem immediate, it's going to come down the pike. Again, have seen too many ministers struggle with breast cancer. That amazes me to see how prolific it can be amongst women ministers. Prostate cancer for men, and have been able to see and to link how every one of those ministers that I know who have had those diagnoses have at some point or another been in extremely stress-filled contentious setting for ministry. And really what we're looking for is to get to be done, to get to retire. All right, Rhonda, you gave a description of a job situation where you'd given it your all and you still ended up having to leave, and it left you, quite honestly, destitute. That happens more often than you might think, or really than you want to think. With ministers, we just stay in there and stay in there and stay in there. A lot of times we stay in there and stay in there and stay in there because we're afraid to go. We're afraid that um, we will leave and people will talk to us. Or if we leave now, we will not have been successful. We leave because we're afraid we won't get to go anywhere else. We leave now, we'll be seen as a failure. And what happens then over and over again? Determination steps in, or you lose pretty much everything, or you have to leave because your salary has been cut and cut and cut. They no longer can afford to pay your benefits. They can no longer afford to pay you full time. And basically you just run yourself in the church into the ground. So get out. Oh, get out while the going is good, you might say there. Have an exit plan. I don't know if I've told you, but one of the wisest statements I heard, and I got a chance to again thank this very wise, long now retired minister, thanked him for this indirect advice. He was in a stressful situation many, many, many years ago, and one of his pastor mentors said, "So what's your exit plan?" And when he shared that story to me, I started thinking, wow, what's my exit plan? What's my exit plan? So if it's time for you to go, be thinking about your exit plan. The closer you get to where it's time for you to go, the closer that will come to gelling. Let's see, what else do I want to say? All of this comes down again to why I recommend having a human resource committee in your congregation. Nobody but people with experience in having personnel who have been managers with personnel responsibilities, who've worked with staffs. Those are the ones. Business backgrounds need to be the ones who make pastoral and other staffing decisions. Bottom line, it frustrates the heck out of me to work with nominating committees, and more importantly than that, search committees who have really nice people on there when nobody has any kind of experience hiring or working in leadership on a staff, who they're just really nice people. And a lot of times I watch on personnel committees in particular, or pastoral relations committees, people who have been peed upon, right? You call them peons, right? Who've been gophers, who've never been in leadership positions, and they're making leader decisions. Was in a pastoral relations committee meeting where they were trying to argue the pastor down about having vacation. She had 2 weeks of vacation. She'd been in ministry for 35 years. And they did not want to give her more vacation because she'd only been at their church for 2 years. And I said, oh my gosh, a standard for ministers is you come in with 4 weeks of vacation. It's like working for a franchise or for a business where you're transferred, and ministers are transferred, if you will, or transfer from one church to another. Their vacation, that time, carries with them. And this pastor she said, I will pay for my own pulpit supply. You don't have to pay me that. I just want that 3 weeks off. Or she went 4 weeks off, so I can take my cruises with my husband when he takes his 4 weeks of vacation. And this one woman said, I have been a nurse, a registered nurse, for 30 years, and the hospital closed, and I had to start with a new hospital. And do you think they gave me all of my benefits the way they'd been? Do you think they gave me my Pension started me where I had been in pension, that I had to, I still got the same vacation. No, I had to start over. There's no reason you don't have to start over. That woman had a massive chip on on her shoulder, and here she was making personnel decisions. Okay, keep that in mind. Have an exit plan. Ask, who are my supporters? Make sure that you have supporters on, if it's a PRC, PR, Pastoral Relations Committee, whatever, Pastor Support Committee. Make sure that you have people that are your fan, that support you, that support the ministry of the church. I hate anymore saying support your ministry, because your ministry is the church's ministry. You're there to help them become what God is calling them to be. Your job is to help them grow into and do what it is Jesus needs your congregation to do. And are they supportive of your work to make that happen? Not that you're doing that work, right? You're helping them develop that work. And worship conflict. Worship teams, putting together worship teams, making sure you have creative on there, you have a solid prayer, you've got people who understand worship and the different dynamics of worship, at least as you bring them. Go to churches. You take them out there to churches that are doing really good worship. Take them to churches that are concomitant to yours in size, and let them see what's happening in worship. I was able to totally transform a congregation's worship concept and worship teams, our approach to worship, by going to a massive worship conference. It was done much more evangelically than we were. We were pretty left of center in that congregation, but they were able to see, and they were energized and had a lot of fun and learned a lot of new music. And at the end evening, it was a 3-day conference. And at the end of each day, we would gather around and maybe have a drink, or, well, we were drinking, but some of us were drinking more spirited drinks. But we would go those places where we could sit around and just talk and dream and bring the parts that each of us had seen. We would all go to different workshops to so we could bring something back to the whole and to the mix. And it was amazing what came out of that. So find a worship conference and take your people there. Do a road trip and spend time each evening or at the end of the day. Don't let it wait, to check in and to debrief one another and to share, wow, I would love to see this happen. And you might be surprised. You may find that people are going, wow, I could see this, la, 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 we could do that. And just be there to take notes and let it begin to gel in your mind. Worship teams. One of the best books. It is an old book. It's written by Charles Arn, A-R-N, Charles Arn. His father, Wynne, was one of the two founders, I believe, I can't believe his name just totally left my mind. Okay, I may get it back and I may not get it back. Wynne Arn and da-la-la. Anyways, they were really the founders of the church growth movement back in the 60s. Wynne's son, Charles Arn, wrote a book called Starting a New Worship Service. It came out in the late 90s, mid-late 90s, but it's brilliant. And you can read all kinds of books about how to do worship this way, how to do worship that way. Charles' book with the arguments, okay, the complaints people are going to say are going to be the same. And he gives you these really beautiful responses to it. Well, we won't know everybody. And it's, you didn't know everybody to begin with. Anyways, check out that book. If you've got different worship styles to meet different spiritual styles, you're going to have to start a new service. People think that you can do blended services. Unfortunately, what tends to happen are the people who want this kind of service are not fed, and this kind of service aren't fed. All right. They're going to complain. They're not going to be able to worship in fullness and totality, because the ways that they worship, their expressions of their faith, their expressions of their praise, are the ways that they hear are not the same. And so you get this compromise, and quite honestly, then neither of them are able to worship to their fullness. And then those worship wars continue. So you can't meet everybody's needs. All right. So you're going to have to start another service. Maybe you've already got 2 services. You think you need a third. Then think about a third. If you don't have those resources,